I spent the first half of my life in the UK, and I've spent the second half in Slovakia. So I've experienced plenty of Christmases, dentists, supermarkets, and public offices in both. Today, I'm answering a dangerous question. Is Slovakia actually better than the UK? Hello and welcome to the Blorecast, your regular serving of aural entertainment with me, James Blore. Today's episode is called 5 Ways Slovakia is Definitely Better Than the UK. And before anyone gets angry, I made myself some rules. First, no unfair comparisons. I won't be comparing driving because I've seldom driven in the UK. I won't talk about skating along the pavement from dog poo to dog poo, as I have a feeling that that might just be a witness thing. And we won't get into who has the best shandy or other matters of personal preference. Second, no cheap shots. Sure, Slovakia is better at skiing and ice hockey. Great! It would be worrying if it wasn't. It also has a lot more letters in its alphabet, and it's still a member of the European Union. Third, they have to be interesting. Maternity leave, percentage home ownership, and insulation are all better in Slovakia, but they're hardly going to tug on anyone's heartstrings, are they? And finally, no big buts. Dentists and energy prices are much cheaper in Slovakia, but then salaries are much lower. Access to GPs and A&E seem to be a lot better here, but comparing the whole health system is much more complicated, I think. What's left are 5 things where Slovakia really does have an edge. Let's start with number 5. Slovaks are, on average, more practical and pragmatic than British people. People here fix their own stuff. They're less afraid of basic car maintenance or plumbing or general DIY. As a 50-something middle-class Brit, my instinct when something goes wrong is to call a qualified plumber or mechanic, someone, who actually knows what they're doing. In shops, Slovaks rarely expect flawless customer service, apologies, or compensation. They just, deal with whatever's gone wrong. Meanwhile, I'll be standing there demanding to speak to the manager, or more likely just feeling quietly betrayed by the absence of an effective system. And while I'm complaining about how unfair it is that my neighbours are making so much noise, Slovaks will just shrug, say, "Cóż," and get on with their day. Now, in many cases, this is probably making a virtue out of necessity. Slovaks haven't always had the luxury of buying a new one or getting someone in. They don't expect the system to work, so they're quite used to sorting things out themselves. And living in flats clearly demands a much more pragmatic outlook on life than I seem capable of. Also, Slovakia has less class segmentation, so practical skills are more evenly spread than in the UK. And I suspect it's partly generational, though, like many things, practicality has persisted a lot longer in Slovakia than in the UK. In the long run, the British love of specialisation, systems and fairness probably wins out. But if your boiler breaks down at 3 a.m, statistically, you'd be better off married to a Slovak. Slovakia is quietly multilingual in a way that Britain just isn't. The vast majority of Slovaks can understand Czech. The two countries used to be one, and even after the split, Czech TV, films and media remain part of everyday life here. And before you say, Czech doesn't count, yes, the languages are closely related. But the comprehension still requires exposure. Apparently, young Czechs don't always understand Slovak effortlessly, because they haven't grown up hearing it. Young Slovaks, on the other hand, usually have no trouble with Czech at all. And, as someone whose Slovak is pretty decent, I still struggle to understand spoken Czech, especially at speed. Even if we unfairly ignore Czech entirely, Slovakia is multilingual in other ways. Around 8 to 9% of the population are native Hungarian speakers, and many more speak Hungarian as a second language. And that's before we get to the truly foreign languages. All Slovak children start learning a first foreign language, usually English, at primary school. A second foreign language becomes compulsory at secondary level. European Commission data suggests that around 30% of Slovaks speak English at least conversationally, and among younger Slovaks, that figure rises to around 60%. One Eurobarometer survey found that overall 97% of Slovaks claim to speak at least one language other than their mother tongue at conversational level. Meanwhile, in the UK, speaking another language is impressive, or slightly suspicious. According to YouGov, only 1 in 5 Britons say they can hold a full conversation in another language. And that ability is concentrated heavily among ethnic minority communities, 67%, compared with just 11% of white Britons. Now, you might say, well, British people don't need foreign languages. Everyone speaks English. And that's true, to a point. But there's a quote often attributed to Tomáš Masaryk. Kolik jazyků znáš, tolikrát jsi člověkem. The more languages you know, the more human you are. Multilingualism opens up new ways of thinking. It builds empathy. It lets you see the world through more than one lens. And by that measure, Slovaks are certainly richer. Slovakia absolutely wins on traditions. Not because they're older, but because they're still alive. Name day celebrations on every day of the year, endless wedding receptions with plate smashing and midnight holubki, the traditional pig slaughter, zabiachka, where every last bit of a pig has a use and the bladder may or may not be used as a football. Easter drenching and whipping and the blessing of sausages and egg lumps. Gubovia, Christmas carolers with terrifying sheepskin monster masks, welcoming spring by burning a straw effigy, Morena, and then drowning her in the river. And folk dancing that people actually respect. Now, I'm not even a fan of name days. Well, I don't bloody have one. And some of the Easter traditions are, frankly, horribly sexist. But there is a rich, living culture here that Britain simply can't match with its performative royal pomp and judges in wigs. In Slovakia, normal people grow up doing the traditions, not just watching them. To be fair, Britain still has plenty of Christmas stuff, and there's always Halloween, but too often, traditional celebrations there are reduced to rows of chocolate eggs on supermarket shelves, or a sanitised firework display, with literally no chance of melting your face off in front of a massive bonfire. And with all due respect to hard-working Morris dancers, traditional folk dancing in Britain is a bit of a national joke. In Slovakia, there are folk ensembles for young and old, and even if people don't love it, they still respect it. In the UK, traditions often feel like history. In Slovakia, they're woven into the calendar. And on the tradition scoreboard, Slovakia wins, hands down. I'm not saying that Slovakia has better food than the UK, but I am saying that it has a lot less processed food. Not the nice frozen peas kind of processed food. No, I mean the industrial, ultra-processed quasi-food. Ready meals, fast food, sugary cereals, soft drinks, chocolate bars, crisps. You know, stuff that tastes great but is quietly causing epidemics of obesity, heart disease and diabetes. According to Public Health England, 50 to 60% of the UK's calories come from such ultra-processed food. And when I lived there, I certainly ate my fair share. Breakfast, a big bowl of chocolate-frosted sugar bombs. Lunch, a takeaway sandwich, a packet of crisps and a can of Coke. Dinner, a frozen pizza and chips. Now, Slovaks aren't perfect in this regard. They eat plenty of smoked and processed meats. But they also love real bread, fresh and pickled vegetables, home-cooked meals and daily lunch menus. I used to go back to the UK and practically weep in the supermarket aisles. "Look at all this lovely stuff," I would howl. In Slovakia, the ready meal sections are rather more boring. Frozen fried cheese, packets of soup, cans of soya-based pasta sauce called mortadella, and a few chilled TV dinners usually involving steamed bread dumplings and some kind of goulash. But I've started to realise this is actually a good thing. Tempt me not, Satan, with your ultra-processed tikka masala and sticky toffee pudding. Sure, Slovak supermarkets are slowly catching up, and city kids are getting depressingly fond of KFC. But overall, Slovakia still wins on traditional, less processed eating. And honestly, I think I might owe it my life. Number one, by a clear margin, is nature. Both countries have stunning countryside, mountains, forests, rivers, lakes. And yes, the UK has coastline which landlocked Slovakia can't match. But there are 3 reasons why Slovakia wins. 4 if you include bears. First, access. Slovak towns and cities are small enough that you can escape from them easily. In Košice, Slovakia's eastern metropolis, you can walk from the centre into the forest in under an hour, and obviously much faster by public transport. Hiking is huge here. There are over 14,000 kilometres of well-marked trails maintained by dedicated volunteers. Outside national parks, you can wander around local woods almost freely, largely unhindered by concepts like paths or private ownership. People have to be able to forage for mushrooms and berries, after all. The second thing is population density. The UK is 5 times Slovakia's size, but has over 12 times the population. Around 40% of Slovakia is forest, and in the UK it's closer to 14%. Roughly 60% of Slovakia is highland or mountainous, obviously much of it forested, versus about 10% in the UK. More forests, more hills, more mountains, and far fewer people. As long as you avoid the most popular trails, you can walk for miles without seeing a single soul. Third, seasons and weather. Slovakia actually has real seasons. Autumn is an awesome patchwork of colours. Winter is a snowy wonderland, plus slush. Spring is a beautiful reawakening. Summer is, well, too bloody hot. Meanwhile, the UK has months of anticyclonic gloom, unpredictably punctuated by showers and downpours. Though I do hear they've developed something approximating a summer since I left the country. All in all, both countries have incredible nature. But with more forests and mountains, better trail access, public transport and proper seasons, Slovakia makes it easier and far more rewarding to get out into the wild. And there we have it. 5 ways in which Slovakia is definitely better than the UK. Practicality, multilingualism, traditions, food, and nature. Not perfect, not exhausted, but I think it's a pretty solid list. Things are changing though. Processed food is on the rise, practical skills are fading, traditions are under threat, and nature needs our help more than ever. As Joni Mitchell once wisely said, you don't know what you've got till it's gone. Let's do our best now while we still can. Okay, if you've enjoyed this, don't forget to like, subscribe and click the notification bell. And as always on the Blorecast, if you've got a story, a quibble or an argument about your own country, please do let me know in the comments. I love reading them and I might feature them in a future episode. You can also follow me on social media for behind-the-scenes sandwiches, extra anecdotes and plenty of food and birds. All the links will be in the description. Finally, a massive thank you to everyone who has listened in during 2025. Whether you're tuning in from Slovakia, the UK, or somewhere else entirely, it's been great to have you along. I'm James Blore. This has been the Blorecast. See you again soon. Bye-bye.